And then we have the cylinder has got pure oxygen, it contains pure oxygen. On top of here, you can see we have got 3 holes. You've got the larger one, you've got 2 holes, and we have the key wheel drive. What you see here is the key wheel drive. On my left side here is the regulator. Onto the regulator, it has got the thumb screw, and we have got the 2 pins. I will show you exactly where those 2 pins go. They go right where we have those 2 holes. Onto the regulator, we have got this seal. This seal is very important part of the regulator. It's called the O-ring. The other name for the O-ring is called the Bodock seal. Always, when you're doing your checklist, it is very important to know or to check whether this seal is on the regulator. The regulator has got the gauge, which tells us whether the cylinder is full or is empty, ranging from refill all the way to full. And it has got a black knob at the end. This you can adjust to give the number of liters that you want to give to your casualty. So I'll take it all the way back to 0. So what's the first thing you're going to do when you are setting up an oxygen cylinder is to do what you call cracking the cylinder. And how do we do that? You have to make sure that these 2 holes are facing away from you. The reason as to why we're cracking the cylinder is to clear off any dust that might have settled onto the cylinder. So facing down, those 2 holes, the 3 holes facing away from you, quickly open through the key wheel drive and then shut it down again. The dust is off. Now take your regulator and connect it onto your cylinder. Now you have to make sure that these 2 pins here fit in correctly onto these 2 holes. Otherwise, your cylinder is going to leak. This is how you do it. As you can see, the two pins are fitted correctly onto these 2 holes. And what I'm going to do now is to tighten the regulator onto the cylinder, thumb tight, just like that. My regulator is ready, already fitted onto the cylinder. The next thing I'm going to do is to make sure that my knob is reading 0. I open the cylinder and straight away I go onto my gauge to see how full my cylinder is. Right now my cylinder is reading empty because I've been using it in different training areas. But when it's full, the arrow will go all the way to that green part there reading full. After connecting the regulator and opening the cylinder, the next thing I'm going to do is to get hold of my therapy valve. Another name for this is called the cannula valve. And I'm now going to connect to this down part here of the regulator, just like that. There are 2 types of these masks. We have the pocket mask and we have the therapy mask. The pocket mask, we use it onto a person if they are unconscious, and we add to the other part of the therapy valve, which is connected to the pocket mask. The nose part should always, the pointed part should always go onto the nose when you're fitting it onto the what? Onto the casualty. You have to make sure that the cylinder is always facing down. The reason as to why we're doing that is because if the cylinder falls down, there's the likelihood of it being what? Of it exploding. Remember, oxygen is inflammable. So you have to make sure that the oxygen cylinder is facing down. And when you are giving the oxygen, we have got quite a number of measures that we need to look at. Maybe you can look at the chart. For an adult, it's good to give them 8 liters when they are conscious, 15 liters if they are conscious. Children and infants, it doesn't change. Whether they are conscious or unconscious, you should always give them 8 liters. And how would you do that? That's the reason as to why we have the black knob. That's the reason as to why we have the black knob. You adjust it all the way to the required number, depending with the situation of the casualty. I want to assume that my casualty is breathing, but not normal breathing. So I will support them by giving them 8 liters of oxygen. If they are unconscious and they are adults, then I would adjust this to how many? All the way to 15 liters. Again, remember that the oxygen cylinder should always be facing down. At this particular point, the oxygen is being delivered onto the casualty, and I sense or I see that now they're having or they're regaining consciousness and they're now having a normal breathing. What I can do is now adjust this all the way to 8 liters. Upon observing them, I see that they're now breathing well, everything is okay. I need to set it down. How do we set down the oxygen cylinder? Number one, I need to close using the key wheel drive. Number two, remove the pocket mask from the person's nose, mouth, and remove the therapy valve. This therapy valve, and if you're using the therapy mask, is only one-time use. You cannot use this again because we don't want the cross-infection of diseases from one person to another. So this is only one-time use. And then the last thing that I'm going to do is to remove the oxygen that is trapped within the regulator. So what I'm going to do is to bleed the air out, bleed the regulator completely. When I'm satisfied, see that there's no air trapped in the regulator, the last thing I'm going to do is to now remove the regulator from the cylinder. That's it. Do you have any question? Okay, now?
Yeah, thanks.